For decades, El Salvador was ensnared in a nightmare of crime and corruption that seemed inescapable.
At the heart of this chaos were powerful drug cartels, such as the Texis Cartel, controlled by figures like Jose Adan Salazar Umana, also known as Chepe Diablo. These cartels, deeply embedded in the social fabric, not only dominated the drug trade but also corrupted the highest levels of government, creating a state where violence was the norm and justice, a distant dream.
The political landscape during this period was equally grim. The administrations of Mauricio Funes from 2009 to 2014 and Tony Saca from 2004 to 2009 were marred by scandals of corruption. Funes, who initially rose to power with promises of change, was later convicted of embezzling over $300 million in public funds, contributing to the economic and social decay that allowed criminal organizations to thrive. His predecessor, Tony Saca, was equally corrupt, siphoning millions and weakening the state's ability to effectively combat crime. Under their watch, crime rates soared, making El Salvador one of the most dangerous countries in the world.
But amidst this landscape of despair, a new figure emerged, Nayib Bukele. Bukele's rise to power was meteoric. He began his political career as mayor of Nuevo Cuscatlan, where he quickly gained notoriety for his unorthodox approach to governance. Bukele refused his mayoral salary, investing it in social projects that visibly improved the lives of his constituents. This populist approach, combined with his skillful use of social media, allowed him to build a loyal and sizable following, especially among the youth and those disillusioned with traditional politics. Bukele's success in Nuevo Cuscatlan paved the way for his election as mayor of San Salvador, the capital, in 2015. His tenure there was marked by ambitious infrastructure projects, a focus on transparency, and a fierce stance against corruption, rhetoric that resonated deeply with a population weary of political scandals. However, Bukele's popularity also stemmed from his ability to position himself as an outsider, untainted by the corruption that plagued his predecessors.
In 2019, riding a wave of popular support, Bukele ran for president under the banner of the Grand Alliance for National Unity, or GANA, a party that had previously been considered a minor player in Salvadoran politics. His campaign was a masterclass in modern political strategy, using social media to bypass traditional media outlets, which he often accused of bias. Bukele promised to clean up the government, end violence, and bring economic prosperity to a country long mired in poverty and crime. The result of the 2019 election was a landslide victory for Bukele. He won nearly 53% of the vote in the first round, an unprecedented feat in Salvadoran politics, where two-round elections were the norm. His victory sent a clear message of rejection to the traditional parties, ARENA and FMLN, that had dominated the country's politics for decades. Bukele's message of change and his charismatic leadership struck a chord with a population desperate for a new direction.
Once in office, Bukele wasted no time in implementing his ambitious agenda.
One of his most controversial measures was the construction of a mega prison with the capacity to hold up to 40,000 inmates. This facility was part of his broader crackdown on gang violence, which also included mass arrests and a significant increase in military and police presence in gang-controlled areas. While these actions led to a dramatic drop in crime, homicide rates fell by more than 50%, they also attracted criticism from human rights organizations, which accused Bukele of violating due process and resorting to authoritarian tactics.
Bukele's economic policies were equally bold. He made international headlines by making El Salvador the first country in the world to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. This decision was part of his broader strategy to attract foreign investment and modernize the country's financial system. Additionally, Bukele introduced a 15-year tax exemption for tech companies willing to invest in El Salvador, further positioning the country as a hub for innovation and economic growth. However, Bukele's ambitions didn't stop there.
In 2021, he maneuvered to secure his re-election, Exploiting a controversial Supreme Court ruling, an institution recently filled with his allies, that allowed him to run for a consecutive second term despite the clear constitutional prohibition against immediate re-election. This move raised concerns about the erosion of democratic norms in El Salvador and sparked fears that Bukele might be steering the country towards authoritarianism.
Today, El Salvador stands at a crossroads. The country has seen a significant reduction in violence, and its economy shows signs of revitalization. Tourism, once devastated by widespread violence, is slowly recovering as the nation's image improves on the global stage. But the question remains, at what cost? As Bukele consolidates power and continues his aggressive reforms, the future of democracy in El Salvador hangs in the balance. This is the complex story of El Salvador, a nation that faced the depths of despair and is now undergoing an ambitious and controversial transformation under Nayib Bukele's leadership. The world watches closely as this small country navigates the fine line between recovery and authoritarianism, hopeful but cautious of what lies ahead. Subscribe and follow us for more videos like this, and tell us what you think about our documentaries.